Oh, yes, it's September 1st. So many things happening in September. So many things have happened in September. Oh, so where do we start? Well, let's get some music and then we'll get started. Hello. Yes. Okay. Let me get myself together because it's September already. Can you believe it? Already is September. And September is my month. So I'm extremely happy about things going down in September. Let's get some basic stuff out of the way. I am Gwendolyn, GR Houston Jack, and we are your hostess for Girl Listen. And this, of course, is streaming to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It's a better experience, but I'm happy to have you no matter where you are. So let us know in the comments where you're tuning in. My mama has been here. My mother is showing up earlier and earlier, but we will take it. Hello, mother. Hello to you. We have David. Guys, hello, David. Hello over there in LinkedIn land. Hello to you, sir. Thank you for tuning in. We also have Gary Jackson. Hello, hello, and hello. Also tuning in, the Black Eighth Element. Good afternoon to you, sir. Oh, guys, let me tell you really quick. Let me tell you, a year ago, didn't know if I'd be in this place, of comfort is what I'm going to say. So, so much happens in these next couple of days, and it's so interesting how the body, like, it reminds you of events that had happened in the past. Like, you can't understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling, but you're feeling something. And so you, in my opinion, unconsciously relive events. And this time last year, my father, Black Eighth Element, our father was in ICU, and we were just preparing for whatever was coming. You know what I'm saying? And I just, when you look back and you see where you are now, completely different place, clearly. So because it is a moment for us, and September is a beautiful month, I'm going to do a lot of celebrations today. And I highly encourage you to also share some of your fondest memories of any loved one you have let go of. Today is a celebration. Just go ahead and say it. So shout out, first of all, to my sister. Hello, Danny. Thank you for tuning in. Hello to you. And I also want to give a special birthday shout out to my niece, who is a Virgo of all Virgos. Lord bless us. But she gets it honest. Kimberly, shout out to you. Happy birthday to you. And then my nephews, just a couple of days ago, more Virgos in this family. For those of you who have Virgo children, I'm sending all the blessings and all the prayers because we are a handful. I mean, we can be a handful. I'm just going to put it out there for you. But this is that moment that I want to, of course, talk about today's subject. I am my father's daughter. I am. If you have never met my dad, and some of you have not, but you know me, let me tell you really quick. We are not too far from the tree. And that's not a bad thing. I'm okay with it. I'm perfectly okay with being close to this tree, is what it is. I absolutely love it. Okay, hold on real quick. Sir, it is not your season, okay? It is Virgo season. So I need you to go ahead and back, wait until it's your turn, right? But I don't know anything about Libras, okay? Let's just make sure we recognize what it's September Virgos right now, right? September Virgos. But it is a celebration. So again, this is my birth month. It is also the month that I came into my own, and then married my sweetheart as well. And so, how am I like my dad? How am I like? Okay, so first thing, uh, we love to eat. If there's anything that Houstons are going to do, we will eat, drink, and dance. That's what we do. Even to this day, my mother, she will put on the music. We'll be out in the backyard. Now, she's not drinking, but we were all having a good time, right? Is what we do. And he was a private chef. So we could help but eat, drink, and dance is what we do, right? So that is very much how I like my dad. And I will say this, we are already enjoying ourselves a little something, something. I started just a few minutes early. And today, hold up, let me get it out because today we're doing wifey. All right, we're doing wifey. Sparkling white wine. It is delicious. I'm getting taste of apricots and I don't want to say pear, but there's something else in there. I need to check my taste buds, but it is delicious. So, shout out. We're not going to pour out a little liquor for Pops, not yet, but we will be drinking in his memory. That's what we do. All right. So, okay. I'm going to need y'all to be under control here. We've got Danny talking about Libras, and we have Gary talking about Tauruses. People, it's Virgo season, okay? Virgo season. Check it, okay? Virgo season. All right, so we enjoy eating. We enjoy drinking. We tend to fuss a lot when it comes to cooking, but cooking is our love language. My dad, God bless him. Okay, so private chef, very restaurant minded because it's where he started. And up until the point that until he passed away, let's say that, we ate at the table. I mean, Pops was clear. I'm almost 50, but he was clear that we were eating at the table. He's going to call you one time to have this hot meal. That's what it is. And if I may just jump ahead to looking at love, my father cooked for my mother up until the point he couldn't stand up on his own. Okay, so I want you to check that, right? So we're talking late July. Late July is when it kind of caught him. But up until that point, he was going to the grocery store, getting ingredients for today's, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and coming back and cooking for his wife. That's exactly what he did. So talk about love language. He may fuss about cooking for you, but he would cook for you. When my husband had to visit for a work event, he thought, well, I'll get a hotel. That's like you can say at the parents' house. Father had a surf and turf waiting for him when he got off the road. Surf and turf. And I was like, really, Bob? Seriously? So it was his love language. Is what he did, is how he showed people that he loved them. Many a time we have come off the road, he would have your cocktail ready or the beer of your choice. He'd have nibbles, and then he'd have some amazing dinner that would be served to you a little bit after. So that is what Mr. Houston is also known for. And, I have to say, I have picked up that habit. If you travel to the home, I'm going to have some nibbles and something for you to enjoy if you so choose, whatever that drink is. Danny knows, she's a vegetarian. So I had to eat the salami I had out for her, but she had enough that she could enjoy herself when she came over. And then lastly, we both have an affinity for photography and video. My Pops captured a lot of video, a lot of pictures, and I just pretty much picked up that torch and kept it going. So there's some things I got from the guy beyond his looks, because when people see me, they're like, yes, you are definitely Clarence's daughter. It can be seen. That's definitely going to be seen there. Now, who is Clarence Houston Jr.? Oh, man. There's been a lot of talk about parenting. A lot of talk about parenting on the interwebs and social media. And all of a sudden, there's this whole deal of whatever our parents did in the past, we're now traumatized from it. we can't say that there are some people who were abused by their parents, right? But I can't say that about my parents. Like they were not those people. When I look at how they grew, both as individuals and a couple and a family, I stand back in awe. I mean, I mean that in so many ways. Pops, I remember we had a home economics project. But he was clear in giving you some tools and tips for years to come. He was like, if you keep your basics in your pantry, you'll never go hungry. Keep some beans, some pasta, some canned soups, a little rice. Like, Pops had it all down. And I got to tell you, when I moved out and moved to New York, I got my essentials. I had my cast iron skillet. I had a crock pot. And I knew how to get through on a set budget living in Manhattan. We got it done, right? So he definitely, as my brother likes to share here, he had a lot of wisdom, a lot. But you live and you learn, right? He didn't start out that way, right? This is a guy who went to high school, finished, and then immediately went into the workforce. And coming from, we'll say, humble beginnings, was able to secure a job where he was now someone's private chef, and he is getting his passport stamped like all over. Pop was in London, he was in Jeddah, he was in Miami, New York. He went all over. And then all of a sudden he started speaking Arabic to us as if we understood. To this day, all I know is yella and henna. That's all I know. I know how to come and I know how to hurry. That's about it. As Danny shares that, yes, nibbles and wine. See, I get it honestly. So he just knew over time how to evolve, right? And a lot of people will say that they don't want to duplicate what their parents did, right? A lot of people say that. If there's anything I take from my parents, it is how to live out your vows. And I'm going to talk about that. I even have my Kleenex. Because it's going to pull some strings. It says East Texas. But when my father got to a place where he could do more than what he did for like himself, the life that we had was actually pretty good. I mean, like I'm not gonna say that we never had bad times. I'm not gonna say that, because if there's anything I can salute my parents on, is not making us aware when things weren't going so well. Like, I had no idea that we were experiencing food insecurity until I was further along, like high school. Just oblivious to some things, because they didn't tell us when things were going on, right? So when people talk about, and pardon me, but when people talk about creating 5 different dishes for their kids just because they want something different, I don't know that life, because we had what we had, I do recall, I'm gonna say it, I do recall a time where Pops fixed liver and I don't do liver. And he's like, you either eat or you don't eat. And I didn't eat. And I'm okay with that. I just don't like liver. It's the most disgusting dish ever known to man. Although the way he fixed it, it smelled great. But yeah, that's a no for Gwendolyn. So when I look at how he figured out how to show his love for his family, when we were younger, that man, he was an iron fist, stern, and he didn't have to, he just sort of gave you this look. You were like, cowering. But when his grandkids came around and his great grandkids came around, it was clear that Pops was softening up. But isn't that what grandparents do? Isn't that what they do? Right? That's exactly what they do. Black Eighth Element says elite, worth ethic, economically educated, and the gift of gab. Yeah, Pops could talk to some people. Very charismatic. I don't know. Well, take it back. He had a way of getting free food because he was very charismatic. He could just work himself into places. So beautiful talent, absolutely beautiful talent. It says, such times say we would listen to parental wisdom. Yes, thank you, David. I find myself quoting my mother quite often and my dad too. Yeah, people say, I've never been like my parents. I'm afraid I am there, people. I am there. Gwendolyn is quoting her parents on the regular. I'm looking at the things that they shared with my siblings and I can't help but thank them for those lessons because they're definitely necessary now. I can tell you that. I can definitely say that. So let me just skip over because I'm talking about seeing people grow as individuals and then also grow as a family. All right, so I'm going to give you the real quick story of this. So September 1st, like I said, Pop was in ICU, right? He passed away from lung cancer. And it was, when I say aggressive, I could literally see the cancer spreading, right? It was that aggressive. And we're talking within weeks, you could see him slowly being consumed by lung cancer. My mother, day one until he passed, was in the hospital by his side. So tomorrow would be their 51st anniversary. And Pops held on to celebrate the 50th anniversary. So I'm going to talk about time really quick because I'm a photographer and people always talk about waiting for losing 10 pounds or waiting for this and waiting for that. And the fact of the matter is that we are all here on borrowed time, right? We do the shoulda, coulda, woulda. So Pops and I had talked about doing a special 50th anniversary portrait session the year before. And the idea was to do this session in the spring of last year, but we didn't do it. We fooled around and let time pass us by. We just didn't do it. Now, Mother had her Mother's Day session, but we did not do the anniversary session. Unbeknown to us, June came around and I literally have a video of my father dancing at my cousin's wedding. And it was just weeks later that he would become ill and that we would know that he had pneumonia and then also stage 3 lung cancer. It moved that fast, right? And so I was just thinking to myself, had we just done what we had planned to do, right? Like do this amazing 50th wedding anniversary. But we didn't have that. And that's okay. It's okay. But if there's anything I can say to anyone who's watching either live or in the replay, don't do the let me wait until like get past it. Even if it's with your cell phone, I don't really care how you take the picture or how you capture the moment, but you want to capture that moment because we are literally here and then we are gone. So they celebrated 50 years of marriage on September 2nd, 2022. And then the very next day, he passed. And it was okay, right? It was almost as if he held on just enough to celebrate in ICU of all the places. But, it's not about where you have this story. It's just a matter of capturing the story, right? But they celebrated in ICU this 50 years. And then he said, you know what? I think I'm good to go home, right? Now, marriage is not for everyone. Right. I'm okay with saying that it's not for everyone. Right. If it's for you, then I say, go for it. It takes a lot of courage to get into a relationship with someone and grow with them. I mean, humans are highly irrational animals. One day we're good. The next day we're not good. Highly irrational animals. And how do you grow with that person? Right. It's asking for a lot. So I talked to my mother yesterday about this before I share it, because I just wanted to make sure that she was okay with me sharing some of their story with you, right? So I just want to make sure that that she was okay with it. And as we're going through this, we got David sharing some great info here. As he says, the older I get, the smarter my parents get. Yes, Mark Twain was right about that. By all means, I am living and breathing all of their wisdom right now. And shout out to our friend Spencer B is in the building, representing Atlanta. Hello to you, Spencer. Thank you for being here. So when we talk about vows, we say sickness and health, rich, poor, all those things, right? My parents have done them all. Like I said, there was a moment when we were experiencing food insecurity, and my mother's uncle helped us out. Father wasn't too proud to do what needed to be done. When my mother was working, then father was the at-home dad, watching all my children. Brooke English was one of his favorite characters. So there wasn't the idea of, oh, I can't. He did what he needed to do for his family, right? Now, my mother suffers from manic depression, right? She's had a couple of bouts, and, most people would say, you should probably take your wife and put her away. But Pop was clear. This is the mother of my children, and I am not going to put her away. Now, mother's not here to tell you some of her stories, because mother has the stories, boy. There is one where we laugh about it now. So again, there is no shame in talking about mental illness. And she's okay with it. She's already said it. But there was a time when she thought she was Kunta Kinte. I mean, mother was real about it. I'm just gonna put it out there for you. She was real about it. And as a kid, you're watching your parent, I don't want to say lose control, but not be who they are. And it is so easy to pick one side of that conversation. My side is I have learned to be compassionate. And I also recognize when there may be someone who is also suffering from a mental illness, because they're just like certain signs and stuff. But the fact that I watched my father stick beside my mother through all of her episodes, every single one, that is love, y'all. I just want you to know it. That is love. The same way that when he was down, she showed up for him. She pretty much lived in the hospital from the moment he went in until the day he left. That's love, right? Some of us, things happen to our significant others and we just walk away from it. So being able to say, when I take this vow, I mean it. I'm going to be here for you through all the things. I can't tell you how that impacted me. I know how it impacted me, right? I have seen people go through the good and the bad, having money, not having money. But I want to share something with you really quick. Hold on. I want to share this moment with you all.
Yeah, I'm over 50.
Last time I checked, I was 30.
Yeah.
Hey, you missed your calling, Ben. You should have been a mom, girl.
Oh, that's what I like to hear. That's what I'm talking about.
Now you got laugh.
I should have brought him out here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet talking still. That's what I'm talking about now.
Oh, that sweet talking still. You kidding me? 50 years later, really?
Yes, that's how it's supposed to be.
You still dropping lines?
Man, I know how to push them buttons.
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
that's what my household was like as a kid, right? Here they are, 50 years in the game, and Pops is still dropping lines, and Mother is still blushing like a schoolgirl. This is what I'm talking about, right? When you see the good, the bad, you're seeing all of it. But it absolutely warms my heart and gives me hope about my own marriage. That, if the good Lord allows us to see 10 years together, 20 years together, 30 years together, and we are still this happy, giddy, loving couple in front of other people, then, there is hope for the world. There is hope for the world. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. People talk about marriage, and yes, I know it's not for everybody. So please recognize who you are before you get into a relationship, right? Please recognize that. But it's just another one of those moments that when you're looking at people truly living their vows on a daily basis. Now, when I was younger, I thought it was the most grotesque thing to see them hug and kiss and hold hands and all of that. Ugh. You know what I mean? Like when I was younger. But now that I'm older, those little doses of PDA and just keeping your relationship alive. I thought to myself, of all the things, really, you're still out here doing that kind of stuff? Like, oh my goodness. But it's beautiful, right? As Gary says, he's like, yeah, I love this, right? It's just, it continues to think of my head. This is your pops, okay? So recognize who he is. And David says, love show up. Yes, sickness and health. Because, I am certain if we were to do, look at some surveys, some studies, we would probably find out that a lot of people ditch a marriage when they hit the financial woes or when someone becomes ill. I hate to say that, but my gut kind of tells me that that's where a lot of people go, because you have to be in it. You have to be in it. I was telling someone the other day that, we kind of knew as we got older what kind of Christmas we would have based on what's going on in the house. Like we would have a tree, and then sometimes there'd be tons of gifts under the tree. And then we'd have a tree and there'd be nothing under the tree. But like the day before, like Christmas Eve or whatever, they would open up a closet and just start handing out gifts that weren't wrapped. It was like, oh, okay, so there is something, right? Like we just, but as a kid, you kind of go through it, and it's up to your parents, I believe, to keep you ignorant about some of the adult things, right? Like you don't need to know all the things happening. I can't tell you how many times I created a Christmas list from the Sears and Roebuck catalog, spent many hours putting together this list, and not one thing off of that list was under the tree. Not a one. We always got maybe next year and maybe after Christmas. I was like, you could just say, I'm not going to get it. Eventually, I kind of picked up on that. So we stopped making the Christmas list. But I really thought that it was going someplace. And turns out the parents didn't do anything with it. They didn't do anything with that darn list. As Black Intelligence says, some people talk that for better or worse, like they were textbook. Right. I agree with that. It is $100,000 until the end. And I am certain there are many other stories just like this, where you have a young couple with the baby in an apartment that eventually moves into their home that they are still in today. Mother is still there. You have 4 kids, 2 girls, 2 boys, surprisingly enough, all 3 years apart. And you are there until the end, right? You are there until the end. I feel like that's the way it's supposed to be. Like that would be the sort of perfect. Well, I don't want to say perfect because there were good days and bad days. I knew when there were bad days because Pop was on the sofa. So I knew then that there were clearly some bad days because that was there. Now I do want to do this before I wrap up this celebration and go back and enjoy my bubbles and play some music and what have you. But we are doing a fall virtual food drive. As I mentioned before, we experience food insecurity. I honestly, I didn't know that we were receiving government cheese until I was in high school. All I knew is they were cracking these jokes about this block of cheese that came in a brown box that never melted. And I was like, well, we have that cheese at home. Gwendolyn didn't know. Call me clueless. I'm okay with being clueless. I had no idea that we were getting assistance. I didn't know. And I don't think that kids need to know all those things, right? Like they don't need to know that not everything is going great right now. But my pops had a way of taking leftovers and making it into a whole nother meal for 6 people. The man was a magician when it came to feeding his family. A magician. So to this day, I don't let go of leftovers, right? I believe in having red beans and rice, a little cornbread. If it felt kind of fancy, maybe I get some chicken. But I know this much, I'm not going to be hungry. So I can definitely say that. So what we're doing in what we are doing in his honor is we are hosting a virtual food drive. We are hosting a virtual food drive. We want to help the Tarrant Area Food Bank eliminate and alleviate, because it's a lot, hunger and also improve health, right? And when we talk about the Tarrant area, they serve over 13 counties. I mean, they are a huge organization. They understand that there are working people who have full-time jobs, who have problems putting food on the table. And so there are markets where these families can come in, shop as if they're in a grocery store, bag up their groceries and walk out, right? There's no reason to feel as if you should be ashamed for not having enough to eat at one time or another. Heck, it wasn't like I wasn't there too long ago. 2009, sister was sleeping on people's sofas and calling her mother trying to figure out where I was going to sleep for that day, right? Like we have been there a couple of times. So I understand the need of trying to figure out, and you have a job, but you also have to pay rent and you have to take care of your insurance and all the other things that come with living in this country, right? So we would love your support. I can tell you right now that $10 will create 50 meals. So it doesn't take much, not much at all. Whatever you are able to give, we would absolutely love to have it. You can go to gphotographybyg.com and look at the fall food drive if you wish to donate. Would love your donations because we have been there and we have done that. And anything we could do to help another family, we are there for it. I like, oh my gosh. I like how he says government Gouda. Okay, I know one thing. It didn't melt for nothing. I mean, I don't even understand what it was. Didn't want to melt for anything. And yeah, it was the longest block of cheese I've ever seen. It is what it is, right? So it's not like we haven't ever had that. There was a dear friend, Erica, who is normally here. She asked about, when we were growing up, did we have Kraft mac and cheese or did we do like Velveeta, shells and cheese? And I was like, we didn't do either. I recall when you would go to the store and you were using any kind of assistance, you got that black and white box of food, right? This is when private label was not like top notch, because nowadays you get private label, they're asking for crazy dollars. Now, this is like in the beginning when they were doing private label, it was a black and white box that just said cereal, or your cereal came in a bag. Like it was, it was some simple stuff. Like you weren't doing like a lot on the packaging. So we didn't do either one of those. Not until much later when things sort of turned around for us. But it was like, yeah, I'm doing Velveeta shells and cheese now, but back in the day, yeah, not so much. Oh, and thank you. Yes, the Tarrant Area Food Bank, love what they do. And they serve so many. They recently had an event in Louisville serving families. And as we get closer to the holidays, I know everybody thinks, oh, Christmas and they think Thanksgiving. But when summer hits, and there are a lot of kids who are not in school, a lot of them are impacted when it comes to food insecurity. So really just all year round. But we want to go ahead and get something started for the fall. So again, GuuuuurI.com. You can look up the fall food drive. It's a virtual food drive. Give your donation. We would highly accept it on their behalf. All right. So here's my closing remarks because, I don't want to say I don't have like a normal sense of death, but I understand it. I mean, our mother's a minister, so we've seen a fair number of eulogies and funerals, right? So I know that it has to happen, but I live with the idea that we are all here on borrowed time. And at some point, you're going to have to give your loved ones, your family, your friends, your pets, you got to give them up. You got to give them back. So here is my verse for today. It's John 16:22. It says, therefore, you now have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart will rejoice, and your joy no one will take from you. So be comforted if you have recently let go of a loved one, or if you are like myself, reliving those moments. It definitely gets better, but know that you will see them again. I was doing pretty good there for a little while, and then it kind of kicks in. And shout out to Kitty. Hello to you. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you being here. So with that, it is Labor Day weekend. I'm going to tell you all to be safe because we know people get into some ridiculous stuff on the on the holidays. Oh my goodness, I can't get my sinuses together here. Oh, thank you, bro. Thank you very much. And thank you, Danny, as well. Whew. Trust me, these are tears of joy. I have done my fair share of grieving that I can celebrate today. I feel good. I really do feel good. But I will say this, as we go into this weekend, even this evening, you got a loved one, a friend, anybody that you haven't talked to in the last couple of days, pick up the phone, make a quick phone call. Make a quick phone call, give them a hug. Trust me. Our time here is limited, but make the most of it. Make the most of it. All right, so we got all the comments coming in. Thank you, Gary. Trust me, I have no problems sharing my tears because we are human. We are human. Humans have emotions, and we go through all the things. And thank you so much for being here, David. I truly appreciate you being here, and Kitty, you as well. So with that, say salut.